Has this ever happened to you? Imagine you're playing a game with frenetic, intense action, like Doom or Devil May Cry, and there's a moment when the music is at its most feverish and you enter a sort of zen state, where your actions and the music synergize. The super shotgun blasts the head off an imp in time with a kick drum, and for a brief while, everything feels just right. You find yourself tapping your foot along or nodding your head as you play. Hell, sometimes when I'm playing, the music hits just right, and I find myself pressing X in turn-based games in time with the soundtrack. It's a weird habit, I know. So what happens when a group of people decide to make a game where that feeling, that fusion of gameplay and music, is the point? Well, you end up with a game like Metal Hellsinger, a game where you battle through the hordes of hell, chasing those moments where it all comes together. But is it good, and was the platinum worth the effort? Let's find out. Metal Hellsinger opens with a very simple premise. You are a prisoner of hell, referred to as the Unknown, and your voice has been ripped away from you. To get it back, you must rip and tear your way through the hordes of the abyss. Its story is simple and metal in a very cliché expected way, and is little more than a backdrop for the gameplay. There is a charm and earnestness about it. This is, for the most part, due to Paz, a talking skull that can shoot fireballs, who narrates your journey with his charming southern drawl.
Truth is, I still can't set foot in the church. Not because I'm not allowed, just because, well, I'm a skull.
Paz explains early on in the game that there is a rhythm to the hells, and if you can keep to that rhythm, nothing will stand in your way as you fight to claim your voice back. Metal Hellsinger wears its Doom inspiration on its sleeve, combining fast movement with intense shooting against hordes of demonic foes. As you progress through the different levels, your arsenal expands as you collect demonic weapons to help you blast your foes apart. These enemies come fast and plentiful, and on normal difficulty are challenging enough to kill you if you're not careful. If this was all there was to the game, it would be a good but not great FPS. What sets this game apart though, is the rhythmic component to the gameplay. As you play, small chevrons move towards the centre of the screen in a 4/4 musical beat. If you take an action just as these hit the middle of the screen around your crosshairs, you will be rewarded for staying on beat. If you are shooting, which 9 out of 10 times you will be, your damage gets a boost. If you are reloading, if you hit the appropriate button on the marked beat, you'll do a quick reload so you can get back into the action faster. Each gun that you unlock has a slightly different timing on the beat that you need to learn. Paz is the easiest of these to master. He never needs reloading, and when you shoot him on the beat, he will get a damage boost. And the shooting animation for him looks like he is headbanging, which is so fun to watch. The shotgun, Persephone, is shot on every other beat, but when you hit the beat right, it damages multiple enemies at once. When you deal enough damage to enemies with this, they will sometimes go into a sort of down state, where you can do a slaughter attack that needs to be on beat to succeed, but rewards you with a cool little kill animation and a small health drop, similar to Doom's glory kills. These slaughter attacks also charge your ultimate, which each weapon has. Persephone does a super shot that rips through multiple enemies doing massive damage. The Hounds, a set of dual pistols, create a clone of the Unknown that does a string of perfect beat shots for a short time. The Hell Crows, which are throwable boomerangs, surround you in a damaging vortex of blades. As you continue to slaughter your way through the game to the beat, you also have a fury meter that builds up at the top of the screen, and if you kill something when it's full, your score multiplier goes up, which is great. And it also increases your damage, which is even better. But there is more, and perhaps this is the most rewarding. As your score multiplier goes up, you get to hear more of the song that accompanies each level, similar to the way the music in Devil May Cry 5 is linked to your stylus rating. At 0 multiplier, all you can hear are the drums. Then at 2 times the bass kicks in, then rhythm guitar, then lead, and then at the apex when you hit 16 times the vocals join in the song. And for me, this was a greater reward than any score or damage boost the game could offer me. The soundtrack is the real heart of Metal Hellsinger, and it's truly special if you're a fan of metal music. There are some outstanding songs in this game, with some incredible talent attached to them. Some personal standout songs are This Devastation, which has vocals from Matt Heafy from Trivium, No Tomorrow, which features the incredible Serge Tankian of System of a Down fame. And my favourite song was Stygia, with vocals from Alyssa Whiteglues from Arch Enemy.
Meet the Hounds, Cerberus and Orpheus.
None of the songs were bad by any stretch though, and each level was a blast to play through, if only to hear the new songs. If you enjoy the music the game has to offer you, it really drives you to keep that 16 score multiplier up, and if you get hit or miss a beat and the vocals drop back out, it can be quite jarring, but it does encourage you to try and do better, or at least it did for me, to keep that music going. As you finish each hell, you will unlock a few things, like the next level, the ability to change the song that is playing in a level you've already beaten, and some side missions known as torments. These torments are small challenges that put your mastery of the game's systems and mechanics to the test, and reward you with sigils which offer small power-up or boosts. The torments all give you a time limit to achieve a goal, like kill 50 enemies on beat in 20 seconds. This sounds ridiculously hard, but each time you achieve a kill on beat, it gives you a bit of extra time back, so it incentivizes you to make as few mistakes as possible as every kill counts. And if you are successful, the equipable sigil it gives you will do really interesting things like protect your hit streak from a missed note one time. These torments vary greatly in difficulty, with one of the hardest ones for me being kills with ultimates. These took me the most attempts out of any of the challenges, as you need to plan which enemies are fodder to build your ultimate bar and how to group the enemies together for a big multi-kill time boost. I enjoyed playing through these torments a lot, and they are a good way to extend the length of the game, as it is actually quite a short game, taking me around 8 hours in total. There are 8 main levels, known as Hells, that each take around 10 to 15 minutes to play through, which honestly felt like the perfect length of time for each song, because any longer the song might have started to get repetitive or worn out is welcome. When you finish each of these main levels, it unlocks 3 torments each, except for the tutorial and the final boss. These torments can only really take a couple of minutes to finish though if you manage to do it on your first attempt. One of the downsides though, of the game being so short, is that the enemy variety just isn't there. There are only 7 basic enemy types, and 4 elite types, which are honestly just bigger variants of the basic enemies with a slight change to their design. What's even worse is one of these elites is locked behind the hardest difficulty, which isn't accessible until you finish the game once. All of the enemies look cool and have interesting designs, and it's a real shame that there were not more different types. This criticism goes double for the bosses, who, with the exception of the final boss, are all almost identical except for having different hats. They all have different mechanics that they introduce, which makes the boss fights just as explosive and frantic as the rest of the game, but it would have been a lot more interesting if each boss had been unique and matched the theme of the level it was in. The boss is a cool design, I can't deny that, but fighting it 7 times as the climax of each hell was more than a little disappointing. The locales for each of the hells you play through all look great, and are varied enough that each has its own unique identity, from the snow-covered Voke to the industrial Acheron, and each one introduces a new enemy type that you will start seeing more and more often as you progress. Performance was smooth for my whole experience on PS5 in performance mode, except for one level where I had a graphical glitch where the floor textures just didn't show up for work, and I found it quite difficult to figure out where I was actually supposed to go. I would have loved for this game to just be a little bit longer and have a few more levels, which I'm sure that the DLC they've released has helped with, but the base game feels like it's just stopped a step short of being amazing. For a first attempt at this type of game, it's an amazing effort from the developers, and the fact that it was only 25 quid is really good value for money, so I can't complain too much, especially as I played this for free as it was added to the PlayStation Plus Extra catalogue. I do hope the developers get to make a sequel that has a few more weapons, a few more levels and enemies, and perhaps a bit more variety in beats to keep to. I feel like there could have been a lot of potential for different guns to deviate from the standard 4/4 beat, but maybe that would have been too difficult to balance gameplay around, trying to keep the player from being overwhelmed by complexity. The journey to earning the Platinum Trophy, named Trophies Are a Girl's Best Friend, was a pretty well balanced one. There are no missable trophies, which is always nice. The bulk of them are earned just by playing the game, and as there is no restriction on what difficulty setting you play on, the Platinum is achievable even if you might struggle with keeping to the beat, or rhythm games aren't usually your thing. There are some miscellaneous trophies that you should be aware of, like you need to die 20 times and get the final blow on one of the bosses with your sword instead of your gun, but as you can replay the levels and none of them are particularly long, there aren't really something that you need to worry about if you just want to play through the game first and enjoy yourself, which is how I did it. I did find some of the torments to be quite challenging, and you do need to get the maximum score on most of them to unlock later ones, but they are achievable with some practice and thought. There is one quite difficult trophy though, and that is to finish the level without ever hitting an offbeat. Luckily, this isn't as hard as it sounds. You just need to be careful when you shoot or dash. You can get hit and lose your hit streak and fury meter, as they don't actually matter. It doesn't have to be a perfect run, as it were. You just need to be careful to always shoot on beat, and replaying the first level on easy with a slow weapon like the shotgun is a pretty good way to do this. There is also a trophy for completing a level using only Paz, which is pretty easy to do on easy difficulty, and the trophy is called Pacifist, which is such a great name. Overall, I would have said this game was a 4 out of 10 difficulty for the Platinum. Games like Doom are obviously a huge inspiration for Metal Hellsinger, and while it never reaches the same speed of moment-to-moment weapon switching and high-octane rampaging as something like Doom Eternal, it does achieve what it sets out to do. Its fusion of adrenaline-pumping gameplay and fist-pumping metal is a brilliant experience, and one that I hope gets replicated more often in new games with more musical genres. It's such a fun game to just kick back with and spend a few hours listening to some kick-ass music and headbanging in time with Paz. If you're a fan of metal music, or fast-paced FPS games in general, then this game is definitely worth giving a go. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing for more Platinum hunting reviews. Have you played Metal Hellsinger, or does it look like something you would be interested in playing? Let me know down in the comments, and check out pressxgaming.com for written reviews and more. See you next time.